We're excited to kick off New Zealand's very first barbecue series, sponsored by Culley's, Mitre 10 and Jack Daniels, and they're spearheading a home for everything barbecue. Through the series, you're going to see profiles of New Zealand chefs and pit masters, and they're going to be giving you the recipes and tricks you need to be able to do this at home. So sign up for recipes, new episodes, and all those tricks from New Zealand chefs, barbecue masters, and even there's prizes to be won for your favourite barbecue products. Today, you guys are in for a treat. We have an awesome session with Matt Melville, and he's the owner of Rum Que, and they are competition barbecue rubs and sauces. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Today, Matt's going to be cooking on the Charmate barbecues, and we are in for a treat. We've got jalapeno poppers, we've got pork belly burnt ends, and we've got lamb ribs, and they are three of my favourite things to cook on the barbecue. I cannot wait. Let's have a look.
Hey guys, Matt here from Rum Que. I just want to run you through some nice easy snack foods or finger foods that you can impress your mates with. We're going to use the Rum Que gear, and we're going to use some Culley's gear as well. This is all available in Mitre 10. So we're just going to run through on these two barbecues today. We've got the Charmate Corona and we've got the Charmate Grady. Little offset smoker and a kettle. Nice and easy to use, and I'll run you through the setup and the cook on both of these units today. Okay, so first up today, we're going to run through some pork belly burnt ends. So I've got a nice piece here. It's about 2 kilos. What I've done is I've removed the skin. Unfortunately for this recipe, we're not going to have the crispy skin. But if you did want to crisp that off to the side, and what you can do is just crunch it down, and you can kind of sprinkle that over the finished product, which gives you that nice little texture crunch as well. So today, we start off with a nice trimmed up pork belly. I'm going to cut these up into about 1.5 inches, so about 4 centimetres, just to make them nice chunky cubes. Because what will happen is the moisture will cook out a little bit during the time. So we want to start with a nice big plump cube, and then it'll reduce in size as that fat renders, but it'll still have a nice big plump cube at the end. So we're just going to start at one side, and we're just going to cut strips, nice and easy. So we just get probably 4 strips out of this. These ones are a little bit bigger, and then just cut. So just cut these, as I said, into nice large-ish cubes. Make sure they're all separate. Okay, so they're all individually cut. Got some nice sized cubes. So that's cut. That's it. And we just get some foil. I like to use foil because it saves on a bit of washing up down the track. Just put all those on there, and we'll just get a little bit of a rub on them. We're going to use the soft cock today, so that's got a little bit of spice, good savoury kick, and we're just going to give that a good rub all the way around. Make sure you've got an even coating over everything. Okay, so everything's coated now. What we'll do, we'll just bring all that into the center. We'll just wrap it up. We'll just put that off to the side for about an hour, just so that rub can work into the meat. It'll start to sweat, drawing a little bit of moisture out. And what that does, it opens up the pores a little bit of the meat. And then when we put it in the smoker, those little pores will accept more smoke, so you get more of the flavour inside the meat. And that's the purpose of the salt in all of this, is just to give it a little bit more surface area to grab some of that smoke. So we'll put that off to the side. We'll get the smoker going, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so we've got the Charmate premium charcoal starter here. We've put some lump charcoal inside. We've got it started now. Everything's ashed over, so it's good to go straight into the firebox. What this does is it gives us a nice bed of charcoal to then put some of our, our split timber onto it from our good mates at Urban Lumberjack. That'll go straight onto the fire, and that'll actually become the heat source, and of course that nice flavour source too. So open that straight up. So that's perfect, and we'll just throw just a couple of these split logs straight onto it, and that'll keep the fire burning and give us that smoke. We're going to shoot for about 275 to 300 Fahrenheit today, and that'll probably take about 20 to 30 minutes to heat up and get that nice even temperature through the chamber, and then we'll put our pork belly burn in straight on. Okay, so I'm going to run you through a nice easy prep for these lamb ribs. Lamb ribs, they're such a beautiful little cut. I think these guys go unnoticed on the shelves quite often. They're super tasty. They're really reasonable priced for lamb. And I just know that once your mates have a little crack at this, they'll be certainly asking you for more. So these have all been cut up individually. Your butcher will do this for you, no problems. We've got about 10 or so here today, and all we're going to do is just give them a little bit of a season. We'll just let them rest. We'll let the lamb come up to room temperature. Lamb always cooks a lot better when it's brought up to room temperature. So we're going to start off with a little bit of mustard. And again, just a bit of foil to keep everything clean, and it cuts down on your dishes as well. So we just put all of the lamb ribs onto there. A little bit of our mustard. So this is just a little bit of a binder. It'll just help that rub stick to the lamb. And we just give them a good coating of it all. And then what we're going to use is our ramrod, which is for lamb and game. And again, we just come over the top, give it a good season, just so all of the sides are evenly coated. So this has got a little bit of cumin in it, salt and pepper, a bit of paprika for some colour. It's all those kind of flavours that you're used to with lamb. Some herbs in there that you'll recognise. That's it, we just get a nice coating on all of them. We put that to the side, and I just put this off in a nice shaded area in the kitchen or off to the side of the barbecue. And we'll just let that rub work in to the meat, open up those pores so we can get a bit of smoke in there and just get that flavour to get into the meat a little bit. So we'll just pop that off to the side for about an hour, about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do on the Corona. We're going to set up that for an indirect cook, and I'll run you through that in a little bit. Okay, so today we're going to do some Jalapeno Poppers. Now these are some of my favourite things to eat. There's a little bit of prep with them, but definitely worthwhile, and I know your mates will love them as well. Now these can be a little bit spicy. It's the little seeds and the internal bits of pith that's quite spicy, so you can remove those. You can chop them into the cream cheese later if you like, or you can just completely remove them. I think I might just leave a little bit in today. So basically, just these little jalapenos, lovely little crunchy things. They're quite seasonal, so you won't get them all year round. So I just split them straight down the length, and then we'll use a teaspoon and we'll just remove that, all those seeds, and we'll put them to the side, and then I might use a little bit to season it later on. So just cut straight down the middle, cutting them in half. What we're going to do is, once these are ready, we're going to put it straight on the offset Grady there, and we'll smoke them for about 30 to 45 minutes until they're nice and soft. And we're going to wrap them in bacon, so the bacon will give you an idea too as to how done they're going to be. So I'll just cut these in half, lengthways. You really can't have too many of these. These are super tasty, great finger food, great for any barbecue really. Okay, so we've got a few red ones there as well, and the green ones are probably more common. So we'll just get a little teaspoon, and I'm just simply going to remove all of that, because basically what I need all of that space to fill it up with that nice cream cheese seasoning that I'll run you through in a minute. Okay, so what we've done is we've sliced all of the jalapenos lengthwise. I've taken as much of the seeds and pith out that I could really be bothered with. We've put that to the side, so that's probably 80% of your heat there. There's a little bit left in the flesh, but they're quite, they're not too bad, they're quite mild. So what we're going to do in the bowl is I've just got some cream cheese. I'm just going to put a full one in there, and I've also just fried off some chorizo and some onion. Just chopped it really finely, fried it off, and then we'll just add it to the cream cheese, mix it through with some rub, and then use a spoon just to spoon it all in these little hollowed out jalapenos. Okay, so full block of cream cheese in. There's one onion chopped up really fine, and there's about 150 grams of chorizo. I'll just slice that nice and fine, and then just threw both the onion and the chorizo in a fry pan and just sort of fry them off until they look nice and cooked. I'm going to use some of our garlic butter umami. This has got a nice savoury kick, nice garlic hit too, so that'll be on the inside, and then we'll wrap it all in bacon, and I might use a little bit of rib rocker just to finish off. Okay, so I guess about a tablespoon goes into there. Get a spoon, just kind of mix that in. And get in there with your hands even. Just work away so you get nice consistency through the mixture. Then just use a small spoon, just a little teaspoon, and just push it in there. Do your best to make it nice and even, and just fill in those little canoes up really. Put them off to the side. And as I say, if you do want to make these a bit spicier, you can put some of this pith and seeds back in there. There are a few seeds in there already, so I opted not to put any more in just to stop from blowing some heads off today. Don't worry about being too perfect with this. We're going to wrap them all in bacon anyway, so that'll make them look nice and uniform. These only take about sort of 35 to 40 minutes to cook, so a relatively simple cook. And I promise you, if you haven't tried these before, you'll be making these more and more often. If you wanted to, you could always add some mince, some pork mince in with the cheese, or you can take the cheese away and just use a pork mince type stuffing. As I said, I'm going to cover these in bacon and then we're going to smoke them, but You can do these much the same as I'm doing here, but you can put them into an egg wash and then put some panko breadcrumbs over them. You can deep fry them. Also another version is like an armadillo egg, where you follow the same process again, but then you cover it in mince and you make a little ball, and then you either smoke them or deep fry them again. So there's a few ways to make jalapeno poppers. If you can't find fresh jalapenos, you can go to some grocery stores and they've got them in jars, so they've pickled them, making it a bit softer to straight away, so they probably cook a little bit quicker. But you should be able to get some form of jalapeno all year round. Okay, so I guess out of another, like a full block of cream cheese, you could probably get 20 to 30 jalapenos. Today we've probably got about 15. So the next step here is to get your bacon. I've used streaky bacon because I think it's the best. We're just going to get a slice here. Just starting at one end, just wrap them. Now, because these poppers are on the smaller side, we probably don't need a full strip of bacon, so we'll just wrap it till we get all the way around. And we'll just chop that bit off there. And then we've got a fully wrapped jalapeno popper ready for the smoker. So we'll just work away on these, and we'll come back shortly and I'll show you how we smoke them in the Grady. Okay, so I've gone through, we've filled all of the little jalapenos with the cheese mixture. I've wrapped them all in bacon, and now what we're doing, we'll just put them onto the foil again, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over the top with some of our rib rocker rub and just give it a bit more of a season, and then we'll put it straight in the Grady. And I'll run you through how we've set this this smoker up, and just how to operate some of the some of the things within the smoker. Okay, so we'll get the rib rocker rub. This is a nice kind of bacony type flavour, so it's great to go over something like this. Just give it a light rub. And that, what that'll do is that'll sweat in as well, and we'll just give that about 5 minutes. All right, so if we come over here, this guy here is what we call an offset. So there's a firebox at one end. You've got a horizontal cooking chamber. So the heat basically comes in through the bottom of this chamber, and then it just, because this is a straight through or just a regular offset, we've got the stack at one side and we've got the fire at the other. So it's quite easy. The smoke and the heat pass over the meat and then straight out the stack, okay? So we don't want puffy white smoke here. I'm not sure what you can see, but it's just a little thin blue smoke will give you the best type of flavour. If it's white and puffy, you can end up with bitter type tasting food. So you just want a nice, almost clear, thin blue smoke, and then you know you're good to go. We're sort of punching around, we're looking for that sort of 300 Fahrenheit, which is about 150 degrees Celsius, about that 300 to 325, and that will get us the perfect temperature for these poppers and also the pork belly burn ends, which we're going to throw on very shortly. Okay, so we're at that sort of 325 to 350. This is the hot end here, so we're going to put the poppers over here. We'll grab these. Actually, so with no sauce on these at the moment, we're just going to put them straight in, let them cook for about 30 minutes, and then we'll check them again. And we'll just a little bit of a glaze to finish off, and then we'll get stuck into them. Now we won't need to turn these will cook in this position, not like a steak or something like that where you need to turn it. Because we're in an offset smoker, it cooks underneath and it cooks from the sides and it cooks over the top. So A little bit different to cooking on a hot plate, or say something with gas elements underneath it. You might need to turn it, but this is completely indirect, so the whole chamber gets the same temperature all the way around the piece of food that you're cooking. And we'll come back and put the pork belly in shortly. All right, so we're back now. The pork belly's been resting in the rub for about 45 minutes to an hour. The rub's worked its way in, so we're going to put it straight back on, or we're going to put it onto the Grady here. This is nice and fatty. It's got quite a bit of meat to it, so it can take a little bit more of a hiding. So we'll put that closer to the fire. And what we want to do is we want to start rendering out some of that fat, and even get a little bit of crispiness to it, because that'll give you some beautiful flavour and texture later on. So we've got the Charmate around that 300 Fahrenheit, which is perfect. And again, we're just going to put these cubes straight on the rack. Try to avoid them touching. Give them some room. What we're aiming for here is, if you've got a little instant read thermometer, we're going to cook these mainly to colour. So we're looking for that mahogany type colour, but we don't want the temperature to get too hot in these before we put them into a little bit of a liquid bath. So we're looking around that 150 to 160 Fahrenheit internal temperature, and that's generally about the time that the meat stalls off. And when you're cooking briskets or bigger pieces of meat, that does play a factor. So we're going to cook these for about an hour, hour and a half, until we get that look that we want, and also the temperature. And what I'll do is I'll throw some of this urban lumberjack pahutakawa. This is a nice native tree. It's not too powerful on the flavour, but it is a nice hardwood, so it does burn for a long time, and it does give you a beautiful flavour without overtaking the meat. So we'll just throw that on top, and we'll just keep an eye on the temperature. We might have to throw a little bit more of the lump. We're just using the Charmate lump here today. We'll sprinkle a bit more of that on just to keep the fire going as we need it. But we'll come back in about half an hour and have a look at those poppers. Okay, so a few minutes ago I started some more of the lump charcoal in the chimney starter. We've got that all ashed over. What we've got here now is we've got the Charmate fire pit. You can also use the tank mine that's available in Mitre 10. What this does is it allows for an indirect surface all the way around. So imagine a clock face. The centre of it's going to be really hot, but where all those numbers are around the clock, that's how we're going to place the lamb ribs. So we've got a full chimney here. I'm going to pour that straight in the centre. We get that nice and hot because there's quite a bit of fat to lamb ribs, so we really want to render that down, and in the first part of the cook we want to get it almost crunchy. Then we're going to wrap them in some butter and it's all going to get really soft. So we want a nice crunchy, I guess, fat around the ribs, and then we'll soften it up in the wrap. So we've got that cone in the centre there. We'll put our cooking rack in. That sits there. And then, as I say, we've got this whole indirect surface that we're going to lay the ribs in. So these ribs have been sweating out for about an hour now. They're nice and moist, so you can see that salt's worked its way into the cut. And we're just going to lay these around the edge. Just be careful they don't fall through the grate. And we're going to cook these at about 450, 500 Fahrenheit, which is really hot. I mean, it's about 250 degrees Celsius. We're going to cook it for about half an hour. Just start having a look at them after about half an hour. They might take up to 45 minutes to get that crispiness that we're after. But really, this cook's going to take you less than an hour and a half all up. So, and it's pretty easy. It's a chimney worth of lump into the middle vortex or cone, and and then a couple of ribs around the outside. We put the lid on. We've got the vent all the way open, so we want maximum heat out of this kettle. I've got this wide open as well, and we'll just let that go now. And I'll come back in about half an hour and make sure they're not burning. And as I say, it'll probably be at that 45-minute time that we'll look to wrap them in some butter. Okay, so the lamb ribs have been on for about 35 minutes now. If you come over here and have a look, you'll see that we've got some nice colour on these now. They're just turning a little bit crispy, and the colour's perfect. So I don't want to cook these for too much longer as is. So what I'm going to do is put on my gloves. Now, here's a neat little trick. These little gardening gloves that you can get from Mitre there. You just put these on straight underneath the black nitrile gloves, and what that does is protect your little hands from getting burnt, and you can just about handle any hot food. Helps with slicing and that sort of thing. So we'll get some foil, nice big piece of foil, put that down. And I just use a bit of unsalted butter. There's already salt in the rub, so we don't want to add too much more salt to that. If your salt level isn't to your liking, you can always add more to the rub, but unsalted butter for me. And I'm just going to cut a nice couple of chunks out of it. Probably about sort of 50 grams, I guess, 40 to 50 grams. And then what we'll do is we'll just grab the lamb ribs out and just put them straight into the center of the foil. You can see those, they're nice, crispy. We've rendered that fat, and now we're just going to put it in the wrap, and that's going to make them really tender, really soft. Put them all in there. Put some butter on there. There's quite a bit of butter. Probably don't need that much actually. Get rid of some of it. And we're just going to wrap it up. Just like a little parcel or a little money bag. You don't want stuff penetrating through like that, so we'll just do another one. The bones on the lamb ribs can be quite sharp, so just be sure that you've got a nice tight hole-free bundle. We'll just put that off to the side, okay? Still the same temperature, we're not going to change anything there, but what I will do is I'll just come back periodically and just rotate that, because that's the hottest part there, and we'll give those another half an hour. And they'll be good to go. We'll just glaze them up and eat them straight away. That'll be great. All right, so those poppers are ready for a bit of a sauce. So we'll just grab a little bit of our meat juice here, and we're just going to brush it on in the smoker. Let the sauce set a little bit. It'll colour up nicely, and then they'll be ready to go. You see the pork belly burn ends have got a good bit of colour on them, so they'll be ready for the wrap soon. But we'll just brush a little bit of this sauce on. That'll get them looking nice and shiny. Okay, so the lamb ribs are ready now. They've just been sitting in here off to the side for about half an hour. So I'm going to pull those out, put them to the side, and then we're just going to make a quick little sauce to go on it. So put about a cup of meat juice into a saucepan, and I've got a little bit of mint sauce here, about a teaspoon of mint sauce. Give it a bit of a stir, pop that straight on the heat, just let that come up to a little bit of temperature there, mix in nicely with the mint sauce. We'll get these lamb ribs out. They've just been sitting there steaming away in the butter So these things will be really soft. All that fat has just gone like jelly, which is beautiful. Put these into the bowl. Tuck that away. That's all combined, and it's pretty simple from here. Just put the glaze over the top. I've got my white gloves on underneath, so I'm not going to burn myself. Toss them around in the bowl, and then we'll just plate them up, and I'll show you what they look like when they're finished. Okay, so we're back on the Grady. The poppers have been in there for about 45 minutes. I glazed them about 5 minutes ago, so we're just waiting for that sauce to tack up, which they have. So these are nice and soft on the inside now. That jalapeno skin's gone all soft, the cream cheese is all gooey, and the sauce is nice and sticky. So in about an hour, I guess, cook time, including the prep, you can have, you know, 30 or 40 of these done, ready for your guests when they come around. And I promise you these will be a party pleaser. Okay, the pork belly now has been cooking for about 45 minutes to an hour. We're just going to have a look at the colour. Colour's nice and mahogany. We probably don't want to let it go too much further than that. Internal temperature of about that 165, which is perfect temp, because that'll start to just stall out now. All the moisture will start to be pushed out of the meat, and we don't want these to dry out too much. So just a nice barbecue tray. Again, I've got my gloves on to keep myself protected. Put those into the tray. And then we're just going to pour on some of our meat juice. I think these pork belly burn ends can definitely do with a bit of heat. So we're using the tropical Caribbean from Culley's. This has got a nice bit of kick, nothing too crazy though, and it's got a beautiful flavour too. So a little bit of that over it. We've got some brown sugar just to make things nice and sticky. About a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. We did probably a tablespoon and a half of the number 7 there, the tropical, and about half a cup of meat juice. And we'll just put in about 20 grams of unsalted butter just over the top. Mix all that in. Get a nice coating over everything. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that back in the smoker. We'll wrap it up. So what we're doing here is keeping all that moisture in, and that's going to steam the pork bellies. And I guess the ideal temperature for a nice soft pork belly internally is about that 205 to 210, and they'll be just beautiful little porky marshmallows. A real crowd pleaser. So that just goes straight back in the smoker. Got the smoker at about 350 now, so because this is covered, we can push them a little bit harder. They're not going to burn in there, so we'll just keep an eye on the temperature, and I'll probably run that for about another hour and a half at 350, and those cubes will be nice and tender. Okay, so the pork belly burn ends have been wrapped now in the tray with the sauce and the honey and the sugar for about an hour and a half. So they should be probing nice and soft. We're looking for that 205 to 210 Fahrenheit internal, and that'll give you a nice squishy burn end. So we'll check these now. We'll see the steam coming out of that. So that's giving us the texture we need. Yep, so they're all over 200, about 205, so they're good to go. We'll just roll them around in that sauce. Pretty simple plating these up really. And just put them straight on the tray. These can be served beautifully with some crackers and some camembert cheese or something like that, or just toothpicks, and just pick them up and go. Little porky marshmallows. Easy. Okay, I guess in just under 3.5 to 4 hours, we've ended up with some pretty tasty snacks here. We've got the pork belly burn ends. Allow a good part of 3.5 to 4 hours for that. We just rub them with a bit of soft cock, straight into the smoker, cooked them till they're about 165 internal, and you got a nice colour on them. Then we just wrapped them, we put them in a tray, we wrapped them up, some butter, some meat juice, some honey. We even went a little bit spicy with the Culley's Tropical number 7, so that'll give you a nice little bite there. These guys are a really simple cook. Just hollow out, just split down the middle of some jalapenos, hollow all the seeds out, fill it with cream cheese. Today we added some chorizo and some onion to that was already cooked, and then we just wrap them in bacon, smoke them for about half an hour, and then we just glaze them really with some meat juice, another 5 minutes, and they just come up nice and tacky. And then the lamb ribs, it's about an hour and a half cook, so 45 minutes. We just rubbed them with some ramrod around the Corona there, indirect. We went quite hot with that, so about 500 Fahrenheit, make them nice and crispy, wrapped them with some butter, and then we finished them with some meat juice and a bit of mint sauce. So all these products that we've used today, the Culley stuff and the Rum Que stuff, the whole range is available at Mitre 10 throughout the country, so there's really no excuse not to have a crack at one of these, and I'm sure all your mates will love this sort of stuff at your next barbecue. Enjoy. To find any Rum Que stuff, we're on Instagram and Facebook, just Rum Que. Our website's rumandque.com. Get all the products there as well, and we're always adding recipes and content to those platforms as well, so follow us. Cheers.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of Culley's Barbecue Series. Thanks again to all our awesome sponsors, Mitre 10 and Jack Daniels, for helping make this happen. Don't forget to subscribe so you can win prizes, including some of the best cooking tools, gadgets, barbecues, accessories, meat and sauce packs, and loads more stuff. Visit culleys.co.nz/barbecue series for more details, and I'll catch you next week.